Welcome everyone to Brookline Booksmith's author event series. My name is Silas. I'm a member of the Brookline Booksmith events team. If you're familiar with our store, welcome back. If this is your first time joining us, allow me to extend a warm virtual welcome. We're so excited that you're all here this evening to celebrate the release of Well, That Was Unexpected, with author Jessie Q. Sutanto and moderator Ali Hazelwood. Ali is a New York Times bestselling author of The Love Hypothesis, as well as a writer of peer-reviewed articles around brain science, in which no one makes out and ever happily ever after is not always happy. She recently became a professor, which absolutely terrifies her. When Ali is not at work, she can be found running, eating cake pops, or watching sci-fi movies. And I'll also mention that Ali was just greenlit to write 3 more adult romance novels with Berkeley. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Let's see here. So Jessie Sutanto is an author of the YA thriller The Obsession and the adult rom-com Dial A for Aunties. She has a master's from Oxford University, but she has yet to figure out how to say that without sounding obnoxious. Jessie has 42 first cousins, 30 aunties and uncles, 2 little ones, and 1 husband, and no time for hobbies. Welcome, Jessie. Oh, and adult. Yes.
This is Lily.
And actually, can we just take a moment to have a little lightning round to list all the countries that each of you have ever lived in? Jessie, you go first.
Yes. Indonesia, Singapore, US, and England.
Oh my God. Okay, Ali.
In the US, I was born and raised in Italy, and then in Japan, and then in Germany.
Wow.
Look at us.
It's so nice to be celebrating the release of this book, and especially what it represents with 2 such global citizens. So the book itself is about a girl, Charlotte Chitra, who's whisked from LA to her mother's native Indonesia to get back to her roots, and finds herself fake dating the son of one of the wealthiest families there. When George Clooney Tanuwijaya's father, who's obsessed with American celebrities, fears he no longer understands how to get through to his son, he decides to take matters into his own hands. To ensure that their children find the right kind of romantic partner, Charlotte's mother and George's father do what any good parent would do. They strike up a conversation online, pretending to be their children. When the kids find out about their parents' actions, they're horrified. Not even a trip to one of the most romantic places on earth could possibly make Charlotte and George fall for each other. But as the layers peel back and the person they thought they knew from online is revealed, the truth becomes more complicated. As unlikely as it may seem, did their parents manage to find their true match after all? Here to tell us more, Ali and Jessie.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to talk about this book.
Thank you so much, Silas.
So this book, I just want to say that I read it several months ago, and I started it like, when you pick up a book and you're like, let me check it out, but you don't really plan to read it there and then in one sitting, But then just the first couple of chapters of Well, That Was Unexpected are just the most eventful, hilarious, voicey, on point chapters ever. And whenever I need to recommend the book to someone, what I usually do, it's a masterpiece. And what I usually do when I have to recommend the book is just so this is what happens in the first couple of chapters. And everyone is like, oh my God, I need to buy that book.
Oh my gosh, you are sweet. Can I just say, thank you so much for, doing this event with me. And I actually told my mom, don't show up because you are like every Asian child's like nightmare, because you are like a PhD in neuroscience, you're a professor, and you're a best-selling writer. So I told my mom, like, just don't show up, because I don't want you to get like this, you know. My parents are like finally not disappointed in me, so I don't want them to be like, oh my gosh, you didn't get a PhD in neuroscience.
Okay, I would like to say one thing, which is that I have seen the feud between you and your mom online with your TikToks. And I am on your mom's side. Your mom is hilarious. She is the best.
I know, you traitor.
I am so sorry, but I love like how supportive your family is. So just to give people here a little bit of background, Jesse and I actually met because we debuted on the same year. And that's kind of how we became friends. And I remember when Dial A for Auntie, which is, by the way, also a big favorite of mine. It's like such an amazing gender bending book. But when that book came out, you like all your family was like doing these reproductions of the cover, and it was the best.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yes, they are the best and the worst, but mostly the best.
I cannot even imagine like how amazing it must be for your family. Like I feel like do they read your books, and do they have like a favorite, and do they have a favorite genre that you write in?
So my mom reads all of my books, and she like really disapproves of so many of them. She was like, so like The Obsession, she was like, oh, you know, the stalker, he's just too stalkery. Like, I don't like it. He's too much of a stalker. I was like, okay, never mind. She liked Dial A for Aunties. Oh my God. Okay. So, well, that was unexpected. She read it in like 2 days. Like, she inhaled it, but she inhaled it with like this scowl on her face. She was like, why are these teenagers so horny? Like, what are you writing? Like,
she is
but
the
then she
mom
couldn't put it
character.
down. So
She is literally the mom character. She's like,
yeah,
why
she
are
is still
they
the mom. Yes.
horny?
Yeah. But yesterday, sorry, go ahead.
Does she see herself?
Oh, okay, I'll go ahead.
In
So
characters?
yesterday,
Sorry,
she
I think
like,
we have a delay. Sorry.
oh, sorry, yeah, we have a bit of a lag. But yesterday she was like, I need a copy of Well, That Was Unexpected, and Dial A for Aunties to give to someone. And I was like, okay, sure. Like, who is it for? And she was like, the bank teller. And I was like, some random bank teller. You know, some poor woman just happened to be like chit-chatting with her, and you know, she didn't know what was about to hit her. So but I was like, yeah, okay, sure.
Can you imagine, like, just being a bank teller, you're doing your job, and you get to
Mhm.
sign the books? That is the best thing ever. Like, that is her entire month made. I am so happy for her and jealous.
Oh my God. Oh, thank you. I was actually thinking more of like, can you imagine being a bank teller and just wanting to do your job, and then some woman is like, have you read my daughter's books?
Does your mom like is there a specific story that she wants you to write? Like does she come to you and is she like, you should write about this, you should write about that?
So there isn't, but like every time she reads my books, she's always like, oh, I'm not like this. Like, I'm not like this at all. And then I'm like, really? Like, there was, like I literally based it on this specific thing you did. And then she was like, oh, that was just a one thing. Like, but she is very excited about my next book, which is Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers. And she's been like so good with that. She's actually like, she's cosplayed Vera for like social media. And then she's like, you need to be like pay me a commission. So, so she's great.
I mean, Jesse, pay this poor woman. She has given birth to you. she does all these social media stuff for you. It's what she deserves.
Mhm.
Okay, I know this
Yes.
is the launch. I know this is the launch of that. Well, that was unexpected, but can we have a little bit of a sneak peek and questions? Can I want to know more about Vera, because I remember seeing the cover and being like, this looks like the coolest thing ever, and wanting to know more.
Mhm. Mhm. Oh no, I think I hope you can still hear me.
I can hear you.
You're like
Yeah.
frozen on my screen.
Oh no.
Okay, you can hear me. Okay, good. So Vera Wong is basically Knives Out meets Kim's Convenience, and Vera is the owner of like a very forgotten, dilapidated tea house in Chinatown, San Francisco, and she's very lonely. And one day she comes downstairs to her tea house. She lives above her tea house, and she finds a dead body in the middle of her tea shop. So she decides that she's going to be the one to investigate, the dead body, because, like I always say to my mom, like no one sniffs out a wrongdoing better than a suspicious Chinese mother. And she was like, that's right.
I just want to say that I can totally picture, after like reading some stuff from you, I can totally picture you and your mom solving a crime together. Like, I can see it happening so clearly in my head.
I feel like I would just get in her way.
It's true. You're the sidekick, and she is the main investigator.
Yes. She's yes.
So aside from the fact that, well, that was unexpected, is incredibly romantic. It's so funny. One of the things that I loved the most was just the setting. I think it was the first time that I got to read something that was set in Indonesia, and that like talked about it. Like there was so much talking about the culture, and also of like specific specific minorities and populations in Indonesia.
Yes.
And I just loved it, and I would love to know more about whether like it's what prompted you to write it. Was there something that you were like, what came first, the story or the setting?
Actually, yeah, I think the setting came first. That's such a good question, because I didn't even realize that. Because usually the story comes first when I'm like plotting a book, but this time I really was like, no, the setting will be in Indonesia. And I have been wanting to write a book in Indonesia, but when I tried to do it like years ago with a different book, it kept getting rejected, and publishers were like, oh, it's too foreign of a setting. I don't think like people would want to read it. And it was only after like, the success of like Dial A for Aunties that I was like, you know what? I think I can like sneak in a story like that is set in Indonesia. And so I still wanted to make it like accessible, to US audiences. And so that's why I made like Charlotte Asian American, so that we can kind of use her POV as like a step off point to kind of plunge into this world. And my husband is English, so I was basically using his point of view to like, as someone coming to Jakarta for like the first time. So it was so useful. Like I was like asking him, like, do you remember, because he arrived here like I think 8 years ago. And I was just like, do you remember what was your first impression? And it was so fun because I also got to write about like his experience. Like when he first came, I swear, like every time he met someone new, they like their first question is like, "Have you had food poisoning yet?" And so I was like, "Oh my God, I need to include that." So a lot of it is really like actually based on our own experience.
Wait, I have to know now. Did your husband have food poisoning? Did it actually happen?
Oh yeah, a lot of times, like I still get food poisoning. It's one of the bad, one of the bad parts about living here. Like,
Okay. But also the food sounded delicious. Like I would take the food poisoning, if that's you
Yeah.
gotta go somehow. Like it's worth it to me. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, so I feel like I was telling my agent, I think, that I get bad food poisoning once every 3 to 4 years living in Indonesia. And it was so funny because like it was literally like 3 years since the last time I had food poisoning. I got it, bad, and so I went to the hospital just to get like an IV drip, and like they're very adhere with that because it happens so much. So they're just like, oh, okay, like just go sit down and we'll get an IV drip going. And so then I was just like sitting there with the IV drip, and like this random auntie like peeps through the separator, that like screen, and she's like, I heard you got food poisoning. And I was like, yeah. And she's like, what did you get it from? You need to be more careful with what you eat. And I'm like, I don't even know you, but I was like, I'm sorry, auntie. Yes, I will be more careful. And she was like, which restaurant is it? I'm going to tell my WhatsApp group, like never to go there. And so I told her the restaurant, and she was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I'll tell them. Like, I'll tell everyone. I was like, okay, well, I'm glad this was so useful for you. But it's like I just really want to write about this culture where nobody minds their own business, and this behavior is perfectly acceptable because none of like the doctors or nurses stopped her. They were just like, oh, they were just like, oh, excuse me, like, yeah, so how's the IV doing? With her there, like this complete stranger.
Okay, but I have to say that I love this, and it's actually something before we started the conversation, before we went live, we were talking about a shared friend of ours, Mia Manansala, and she writes about like Filipino culture, and something that we joke about, like we joke a lot about the fact that like the Philippines and Italy must be related somehow, because I feel like there are these things in common. Like Italian culture is the same in the sense that like there is no privacy, there is no respect for boundaries.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Like literally everyone is in your business. Everyone asks you the most personal questions, and you're like, I mean, I guess I will take this criticism. it's funny. I mean, I'm like, okay, I mean, if I have to sit down and be criticized mercilessly by someone I've never met before, I guess I will, but I will cry. So I just love I really love finding like these shared things between I don't know, Italy and the Philippines, and now Indonesian culture. That also you are like you are am I correct when I say that you're Chinese Indonesian Chinese? Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that is like
Yeah.
a little different from mainstream Indonesian
Mhm.
culture, correct?
Yes. Yeah. So so Indonesia was colonized by the Dutch, and then there were already like ethnic Chinese population there, and when the Dutch came, they, for whatever reason, I think probably mostly because of racism and colorism, so they put the Chinese population in charge of a lot of things. And so we do have like this really sad history for, the especially for like the native Indonesians. And I do think, and I also do hope that like things continue changing, that there is more equality. But throughout the years, like the Chinese population has grown in size, especially in Jakarta. I think there's a very large Chinese population, and we still do like we celebrate like Chinese New Year. We are very, I think we're very like Chinese still, but we're also Indonesian. So yeah, it's very complicated and very interesting, I think.
I think it's incredibly interesting, and you go into it in the book, not like a history book would, but like you said, from the point of view of Charlotte and George Clooney as well. I have to call him George Clooney every time I think of him. I can't just call him George. He's George Clooney in my heart.
Yes, me too.
Forever.
I just need you to know that I know a Hugh Jackman. And I, in my kids' class, there is a Lionel Richie. So
I love this so much. I love it. Okay, but I like, if I had a son, I could see myself calling him Adam Driver, and then that my last name. I am a fan of this tradition, honestly. I love it. And I do like George Clooney, so it was a perfect choice.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's really, I love the way you go into the history and you like explain society and you talk about it, and but you do it like in such a natural way. It like the setting is almost like one of the characters of the story, and I love it. I really love it, even though I think you're so great, and that's something that I've noticed in many of your works, that you're just really, really good in a way that I want to say I admire, but the truth is I envy so much, because you are so good at creating this really compelling larger cast as well. And it's maybe it's because you have 42 cousins, I don't know, but like everyone is such an amazing character in the book. It's not just like Charlotte and George Clooney, but also like the parents, their siblings. George's sister is amazing, and then the extended family, the aunties. I loved no spoilers because I know the book came out today and people are probably still reading it, but like I love the Charlotte's mother story. That was just like I I loved it so much. So guys,
Oh,
look out
thank
for
you.
it and DM me so we can talk about it because that was a big favorite of mine. And yeah, like you just, I don't know, you're so good at creating these large casts that make you want to be in that world. And my question here is, how do you do it? Can you teach me and tell me everything? Let me see inside your brain. Thank you.
So I actually had a lot of problems with large casts in that I don't know if this happens to you, but I forget that they exist. Like I forget that side characters exist and then they just disappear halfway through the book. And my friends, like my critique partners will be like, hey, what happened to, her friend? And I was like, oh my God, her freaking friend. Ah! And and I hate it. Why? Why do we need to have side characters? It's horrible. It's more work for us. Why can't talking heads? And they just can float around. Their heads float around and just like have dialogue. That's it.
Yes.
So I've had to I actually had to like create a list of characters because I literally like forget their names. So as they come up in the manuscript, I just and I'm like, all right, yeah, don't forget like eighth aunt. Eighth aunt. And then I'm like, what do I do with eighth aunt? I love them and resent them at the same time.
I love that.
But it's just like the list. They're just a lifesaver.
I love that. Sorry, my cats, one of my cats just started attacking the other cat because they're sleeping next to me. I love that. This is something that happens to you as well. When it happens to me, usually what I do is I will start like I'll have a first draft with 10 characters, and then the second draft I'm like, I forgot that the character existed, and then I try to merge two characters. I'm like, I'm just
yes. Oh yeah, merging characters. Yes. Yeah. Because I'm like, what is this character even serving in the plot? I might as well, lump them in together with this other character.
Absolutely. Yeah. That is a struggle. But you do it in such a good
I think it's
way.
frozen again.
I never
Okay.
Oh, sorry. It could be my my internet. But honestly, I think you just
No, I'm pretty sure it's mine.
I love the idea that we're both in places with very crappy internet. And our crappy internet
I think so too.
Our crappy internets are meeting and falling in love.
Yeah. I love that.
A romance novel across the ocean. I think in your case, every character has such a defined personality and shines so well. One of my favorite parts of the book is that, and this is not a spoiler, I wouldn't say, it's kind of like, the premise, but the idea is that basically what happens is that both characters are getting catfished by the other character's parent. And what is going on is basically that the parents are talking to each other, kind of, and there is this weird thing where the voice of the parents in the chat are so unique and so distinctive. It's truly, it's so voicey and good. Guys, I know that if you guys are here, you probably are reading the book or have read the book or are thinking about reading the book, but I cannot explain how incredibly fun it was to read these two older people trying to pretend that they are young. It's like the funniest thing ever. How did you get that idea of like doing that specific twist on fake dating, by the way? Because it's genius.
Oh, okay, wait. I need to let Lily out real quick.
Lily. I love the idea that Lily
Yeah.
is like, I'm gonna go pee now.
I know, she's just like, I don't have any respect for whatever is going on.
Lily is the real star of the, and she knows it.
She is. So okay, so like I really parents meddling is just such a huge thing in my books, because that's did I get the idea from many years ago when my dad sent a breakup email to one of my exes. I'm not gonna say no. And it was so like, obviously when it happened, it was, now I think it's hilarious because like it was so obviously not me, because it had like it was so formal. It was like and then
Okay.
he was like, and I think he had asked because his English is not great, so he had asked one of my cousins to help him out with it. So again, it's just like, how unrealistic is this? Like, how is this my life? And so together they put to like this businessy letter where they were like, after some consideration, we like I think it's best if we terminate our relationship.
to whom it may concern.
Yeah. And then I still remember like the sign off was like, thank you so much for your time and consideration. And then it was like, best regards.
Okay.
So, my ex, like, of course, did not believe for a single moment that, I had written it. But
I love the idea. So what
it was a
happened?
huge deal.
Well, I need to know everything. So I need to know, your ex came to you and told you, but also, how did your father get your email? Like, how did this happen? Like, I need the detail. It's very important.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, it wasn't. I don't think he sent it from my email. I think he sent it from a new email. I think he might have created one like as me. I don't know. Let me let Lily in.
And Lily is truly my favorite.
She's done. Okay.
I mean,
so,
I love you too, Jessie.
Yeah, no,
but
he had
Lily's
created.
special.
I understand. That's fine. So yeah, he had created like a whole new email. I think it was like some like Jesse whatever at. Oh, I think that was the other thing. It was like at Hotmail, and it's like nobody uses Hotmail, and
I love it. I'm dying.
so yeah.
That is amazing. So, did you forgive your wait, was it you that you went to a bookstore and your father was like, I think you should put my books, my daughter's books in a better place? Was that you?
Yeah.
Okay.
That is him. Yeah.
He's forgiven. He's forgiven. He's forgiven because he is the best.
He's forgiven.
Father. I love him. This is the
He's so
support.
adorable. Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I wanted to say that it
Yeah.
was bad of your father, but you know what? That was
Mhm.
your ex. Was it the man you married? No. So maybe your father was right after all. Just saying.
I love it.
I am team Jesse's parents.
I know you're just a traitor.
Sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, but it's your fault. It's because you make them like you introduce them to us, and they're so likable and just so supportive and loving, and I love it. I love it. Have you read?
What I love is like when people I love when people are like, oh, this is unrealistic. And I'm like, everything about the parents' behavior is based on reality. I'm so sorry.
They don't know. They don't know. Has your father read your books?
No, he hasn't, because his English is not good enough. So he's always asking me like, well, what is it about? And obviously I'm like, I don't want to tell you what this one is about because they're just so horny. I mean,
I love it. Well, is there going to be a translation that he's going to be able to read? And what are we gonna do when the translation arrives and he's gonna be able to read about the horniness?
No, okay, so unfortunately, there won't be like an Indonesian translation just yet, just because like so many of my books have content that I feel like might be controversial, like LGBT content that might be controversial in Indonesia. So I'm like, you know what, like I'm gonna just play it safe and not sell like Indonesian rights.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because you live there too. Oh, you still live between Indonesia and Singapore though, right? Or did you used to live between Indonesia and Singapore?
Yeah, I used to live between the two, but then after, during the pandemic, we've just been in Indonesia. So I haven't gone back to Singapore for so long, but hopefully I'll go back there in October because I really miss it.
Yeah, so I've never been, but I recently read a book that was set in Singapore, The Fraud Squad. I don't know if you've read it, by Kyla. I don't know if I want to say Kyla Zhao.
Oh, yeah.
And that was so good. It was so good. And I was like, okay, I need to go there. I need to move there.
You need to go there.
Be there. It's like the description.
If you go there,
it's just like, sorry, highly recommended to anyone who wants to read it.
Yes.
Such
a good recommendation.
And it just like the setting, it's another book where the setting really is just fantastic. And you're like, I'm gonna move there because this book made me fall in love.
Yes. Oh yeah, totally. I mean, I love Singapore. If anyone comes to Singapore, I will fly there, to meet them because I'm just like looking for any excuse to go to Singapore, right? You
also have you have two daughters, which is like something that I think about all the time, that you have two daughters, but at the same time you're such a prolific writer, and I feel like I have to ask, like, how? Tell me everything.
Well, they're in school now, so I actually have plenty of writing time. But before they went to school, I would get up like at 4:30 in the morning so that I can start writing. Because once they're up, it's just like, Mama, oh my gosh, she's looking at me. She's looking. I'm like, oh my like and it's just never ending, right? It's Mama, I want water. And I'm like, yeah, you can get it yourself. Just and they're like, no, it tastes different when you get it.
Better. It tastes better if your mom gets it. Come on, we all know it.
Yeah. So yeah, I used to just have to get up super early to write. And I actually found that having that deadline, knowing, oh my God, they're gonna be up like 1 hour time, read me like write super fast. Like now I actually, when I have time to write, I'm like doom scrolling on Twitter and like hate reading Twitter, because Twitter is like, but I just like, I'm like, what am I doing? I'm like spending a whole hour, just scrolling through Twitter. And so I actually find that time limit is really helpful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I do agree. This semester I'm taking a year off to focus on writing, and I feel like I have been writing the same amount as I did when I had a full-time job. It's like
oh my gosh, that's so funny.
I feel like I'm not doing this whole writing thing right, because twice the time, same number of words per day. I love that we struggle with this. Do your kids want to be writers? And well, I guess because you write like truly across all age spans. You write like middle grade, and then you write young adult, and then you write like in multiple genres in adult. They're a little young for middle grade, right?
Yeah, middle grade is like my characters are around 12 years old, and I know like the rule of thumb is the age of the main character is kind of around the age of the reader, although kids do read up, so I would say it's like for 10-year-olds maybe.
Okay. Are you planning to like do something for even younger kids? Like that would be, I guess, stuff with more pictures. Is that something you're thinking of?
I don't know. Like I never like to say, like never, because I never thought I would write like a rom-com, I was always like, I will never write anything without murder in it. And then somehow, I wrote, well, that was unexpected, which was
I'm so
unexpected. See what I did there?
I love it. That's a title, guys. I love it. It's also such a catchy title, like truly the best title. Like I love everything about it. Sorry.
Oh, actually, speaking of the title, I really love the next book. The title is going to be "Didn't See That Coming," and it's going to be about Kiki, her Charlotte's cousin, and well, that was unexpected. So very excited.
Wow, thank you for the sneak peek info.
Yes.
I need to beg for arcs. I just want to say, whenever.
Oh my God! Are you kidding? I will be like begging you to read it.
Please.
Us too, please. We have an arc shelf.
Remember your friends. Thank you.
All right, so we're going to get to some of your questions if you have any, as we answer some now. Please feel free to drop them in the Q&A box. Let's see. So the first question that we'll go with, well, I want to give credit to Anne, who also asked about your prolific writing, as well as some other folks. But we've got an answer to that. We have a question from an anonymous attendee. Is it ever hard to finish writing a book because you have to say goodbye to the characters? They say they're still emotionally invested in Nathan and Mehdi and Adam and Olive. And that's to both of you.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, it was, I find it so much harder when there have been sequels involved. So I recently finished writing the sequel to my middle grade. And when I wrote the end, I was so like emotional. I was like, oh my God, no, wait, I can't believe this is the end for these characters. But with the characters in Dial A for Aunties, we still have like 2 more books in the works. So, I haven't yet said goodbye to them, but I'm sure I will be like a complete miss when I do.
Yeah, I agree with Jesse in the sense that, like, for me, I feel like, Adam and Olive, or, Bee and Levi, but like the characters that I write about, I feel like there is always like an opening to go back to them. Like maybe there's gonna be another book that is about other characters, but it's like maybe you can sneak them in and write like cameos and stuff like that. And I like that idea of kind of like I don't know, saying goodbye but not really saying goodbye. And that is, I think, maybe easier if you write contemporary stories. Like once you have, for example, like with Teotihuacan and the Fox Spirit, I can imagine that it would be hard because that's a word that kind of it's a you would have to specifically write in that word to be able to revisit the character. So I feel like I would also feel sad. But yeah, it is hard though. Another thing that, like, I don't know, maybe that's not your question, but like I just finished the draft for my I think my 4th adult book, and there is a side character, for example, that like I'm like, I want to write more like about this character, and you're like, I just hope that I'm gonna get the opportunity. Like sometimes you also get attached to side characters, and you hope that you get the opportunity to tell their story, for example. So there's that too. Like, I'm so glad we're getting Kiki's story because she was just amazing.
Love it.
Wonderful. We've got a really interesting question from Ryan, who says, given the parents impersonating their kids in the book, he's wondering if the parents would date each other if they had met like just themselves and it had nothing to do with the kids.
Oh, well, I actually did consider that. And then I was like, well, I can think of something better. So I don't want to spoil it, but
Agreed. I just want to say that I thought that's where the story was going, briefly, but not like, just because it seemed it would have been kind of I guess I could see a way the story could have unfolded like that, but the way it actually unfolded, chef kiss, so good. You're gonna love it.
Yeah.
Another question from Ryan is where the idea of parents catfishing online came from. I know that you said you've written other books based on past dating experiences. Did that perhaps have any real life basis?
Yeah, I mean, like the whole my dad my dad thing, and I just feel like if he had known that DMs or social media existed, then that is probably where he would have gone. But at the time, because we're ancient, at the time it was emails. So
can I also say that the real villain here is not the father, because Jesse's father is innocent and amazing, but the cousin. Can we talk about the cousin who helped him write the email? Like, that is the real villain. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Totally agree.
Amazing. Final question that we have is about exploring other genres. It's great, so great, Jesse, that you said you'd never write anything without a murder. and here we are. And what about you, Ali? You are so good at romance, but any other ideas, either of you, for exploring other genres?
I mean, honestly,
Ooh.
I wish, like, I am in awe of people who can write like thrillers with twists. Like I love them. I was the last thriller that I read, I think, was You're Invited by Amanda Jayatissa. That is like this amazing thriller set in Sri Lanka, by the way. Another fantastic book with a fantastic setting. And like, I was like, you know, when you read a book and you're like, how do people come up with these twists and with these unexpected things? Because I just could never, like, my brain can't think like that. So I wish I was able, I wish I could think of like write a thriller, because I enjoy them a lot, but I really struggle with the whole kind of subverting expectations and, you know, leading readers astray and stuff like that. Like I love being on the receiving end of that, but I wouldn't know how to write a story like that. Maybe there are like craft books on how to
Oh my
write.
God. I would kill for a thriller by Ali Hazelwood. I mean, please, I beg you.
I would love, like, there is a murder, but they forget about the body and they just start making out, and then it's the sex scenes.
I mean, I would read that. I would read that. Take my money. I would buy it.
I would buy it for you, just for you.
Amazing, fabulous. Well, I'm going to drop the link in the chat to where you can buy this amazing book. And I want to welcome both of you to say any last words, and thank you so much for allowing us to host this event, Jesse, and for moderating, Ali, and thank you to all of our attendees. And I'll let you two close things out.
Can I just thank Jesse?
Thank you.
I want to thank you for like letting me read the books, for letting me read it early. It was just an amazing book. Like, it was the book that I needed when I was reading it, and it gave me so much serotonin, so much joy. So just thank you for sharing it with me, and I guess with the rest of the world.
Gosh.
But you shared it with me first, and so I will take that personally.
Thank you so much for reading it and for giving such an amazing blurb. My editors and I had like a celebration, you know, when they were like, oh my God, we got a blurb from Ali Hazelwood. And I was like, ah. And I ran and I told my husband, and, you know, we were just like, it's party time. Like, you know, it's Ali Hazelwood. Like, she's going to be on the cover. Like,
oh my God.
It was a huge honor. And thank you so much.
The honor is mine. And I mean, now I am just going to move into your basement so I can experience Indonesia. That's what I want.
Yes, you are always welcome here. And you won't be in the basement.
I didn't want to invite myself in the guest room, but you do have one.
All right. Well, on that note.
And thank you so much for hosting.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us. Yes.
Thank you to everyone. And let's all get